Mic is very strong, so I can hear.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this third spotlight of the Living Systems Collaboratory. We are here introducing the work of the collaboratorians and revolutionaries of the Living Systems Collaboratory, which is a side program of the Design Science Studio in collaboration with UC Irvine, and thanks to the generous donation of Mansoor Vakili, which has made possible that for the last 4 months, we mentored and scaffolded and brought some really cool speakers to these 30 incredible artists to teach them and expand their knowledge around living systems and living systems philosophy and the interconnectedness of it all. So we're super proud to be spotlighting some of them. I'm truly excited to introduce you to our guest today. I'm going to bring him to the screen with me. This is Speaker John Ash. He is an incredible talented musician. He also works with data and in the convergence of design and science and art is that he creates his art, and it's a true pleasure to hear and listen to somebody that is able to understand complex concepts and find easy and easier ways to communicate them. So it's my and thank you for sharing your talents with everybody. I'm going to leave you here. Welcome.
Okay, you want me to go? Okay. So I think to start, explaining my process in this program, I think we sort of need to go back in time to 2015, 2016. Because a lot of the goal of this project was to create a minimum viable product or get to the certain point where you felt like you could release something. And I had already gone through that journey in 2015 and got to this point where it's like, okay, I have something to present out in the world. And just having a very difficult burden of communicating that vision outwards to people. And, going a few years, I sort of had my spirit burnt out from a lot of effort because what I had presented were a lot of predictions about what would come to pass in the next few years. And despite a lot of people saying, what I was saying was not going to happen, it did, with sort of the conspiracy and the misinformation that we're experiencing right now. So I got into this program just to reinvigorate my soul and my passion for the work. And it really has. That's what my experience in this has. But I wanted to go back in time. So could you share the Chrome tab that I have up? So 2015, 2016, I worked as a machine learning engineer at a financial company that basically worked with bank transactions. We took the string from your bank site and we analyzed the meaning of it, saying, where is this transaction from? Can we get a phone number from it? Can we get an address from it? Can we get the business name from it? Can we get the state? Can we get the zip code? All sorts of stuff. What type of transaction is it? That was everything that was on my mind. And we were doing that because we were trying to understand misinformation, fraud. And at the same time, I was, of course, seeing these analogs in social media. I was seeing like Twitter, and I was seeing this weird rise to what I saw as just sort of willful misinformation, just something that's so out there that it didn't really make sense. And then I started seeing like the rise of Donald Trump as this person who used misinformation to really accrue power. And so I wrote this manifesto, the Cognitus Manifesto. I just needed to get something out because I had this bold vision of what was going to happen in the next, 100 years based off of our living within a capitalist system, what we could do to fix it. And I just needed to put it out there somewhere. And, just to start off, I'll just like read the preamble of it. It might sound familiar. When in the course of recorded history an uncertain future threatens the well-being of the people, it becomes necessary to resolve the beliefs that have confined us, to speak the roots of our rising crises, and to plant the seeds of a new world together. In respect of our fellow minds, we must derive collective goals and provide for our collective well-being. We must not rely on the entrenched workings of leadership and power, but must determine our futures together collectively. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all minds emerge equally observing of autonomy, security, and information. To secure these freedoms, bodies of collective decision-making are instituted amongst minds, deriving their power from the autonomous minds they're in. I think you could see a pattern. It's lifted from earlier powerful words, language that has bound people together, and this concept of not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, the understanding that there is value in what has been established in the past, but the need to continuously edit and update. And if you go down here, the structure of this document is going through the past, present, and future of how humans work together to form a collective vision of truth, a vision of truth that helps them work together better. It goes through the past from language and its relationship to truth. Stories before we had written language, how we would communicate through the oral tradition, religion, and how we fill in the unknowing, what we don't know with this idea of a god or gods. Democracy is this idea of tallying our perspectives. Scientific method as this sort of idea of collecting data and hypotheses and the flaws that still exist. Capitalism, like markets, how we vote spending with our dollar. But statistics, the problems with statistics and how you can lie with statistics. Trust in public figures, and how they can lie. The judicial system, it goes through all of this. And then talking about what was going on in 2016, what was going to happen with all of these systems that we're having with social media, with the problems that we were facing. The idea of centralized truth filters. I was talking about this in 2014, how we can't have, Facebook or Twitter be the arbiter of truth. And just now in 2021, we are having people finally talk about this idea. It's like, well, of course, Facebook, of course we can't have the centralized authority of truth. But then you hear Twitter just yesterday Jack saying, we understand that if we stopped moderating our platform completely, it would break instantly. And at the same time, if you hand over the entire moderation to the government, then nobody can criticize the government. So what you have to do is you have to address this problem. And the way to address this, as he said, and as I do in this long 100-page document, is you have to create new protocols for how we interact and exchange information online and how we interface. And if you define those open source protocols for how we interrelate with each other, you can radically shift our trajectory, our future trajectory from something that is very likely a negative future to something that is much more positive. And so I even go and, I go through the present, and then finally I lay out exactly the vision and the new technology that we can use to solve these problems. And I just need to pull up. Yes. So back then, I had this vision of our voices being encoded via these machine learning models. And it was a very abstract concept because you couldn't see it. And so back then, there were these very simple representations of these encodings of digits in these physical spaces. And I was trying to just show the ways that we can encode representations of different memes. Those are 9 memes, 0 or 10 memes, 0 through 9, and it's encoded in this space, and all of the representations that the human man has possibly written those down. It's this encoding, this representation. And so I had all this, this stuff in here showing these ways that we were integrating and aggregating our perspectives. This is from 2016, I believe. Oh, okay, keep it running closer, zoomed. This is r/place. This is where every user on Reddit was allowed to change 1 pixel at a time, and how all these voices came together, just changing 1 pixel to build this beautiful, canvas in real time. This was me trying to say, this is how you do it with images, but we can do this with words. Here's another example of vision of the crowd. You have this people basically tug on this UI, and they're trying to pull it one direction, and it aggregates and averages all the directions that people pulling to find this wisdom. There's this collective feedback where it's like people see other pulling one direction, and they can kind of choose to change as they see that happening. And so there was all these things, and it fell flat because nothing bad had come to pass yet. All these predictions saying it hadn't happened. So now we're 4 years later and seeing so many bad things happen over the last 4 years and not really hearing my voice be amplified anymore, or the ideas, especially the ideas, was very, very, very frustrating me. And I moved on. Okay, I need to change the tab real quick. Sorry if I'm going slow. I'm going as fast as I can. I will rush. Share screen. Chrome tab. And so I as the technology became popular and more well understood, I started making these videos to try to explain it better so that it wouldn't be just a long read, trying to entertain people as much as possible. And so I made this thing on GPT-3 and GPT-2 and how that could aggregate and integrate our voices. I created this idea, try to connect it to trash tag, just rewarding people who are actually doing pro-social behavior instead of rewarding people through the token of money. The idea of just quantifying a goal together, a collective goal, and optimizing that collective goal via technology, where you have this number that you're all logging together and you try to move that number together through collective action on something. Like super forecasters, the idea that there actually are people who are far better at predicting the future, and there are ways to become better, and the ways that has been done through Breyer scores, there's this program called Metaculus. There have been lots of attempts to establish who is better predictive, and there are people who see the future with much greater clarity than other people, not perfectly, but just clearer. But we don't listen to them, or we listen to the people who are the most sensationalist. The idea of how we quantify value in money. Again, how to use these machine learning tools to reinvent the society and face all the problems that they're facing. Again, this idea of social proof of work, of rewarding, of just record, and even if you go through this thing, you see me getting less and less calculated and less technical and trying to be more entertaining, because I just notice it's like, the people need to be entertained. This has been the entire burden of having this vision and trying to bring it to people, is that I just noticed that it's more entertaining. So I was burned out. I got part of this program, and there was a small amount of money, and just to do something. And just after this election, 3 days afterwards, I wrote this song called Another Other, and it is about wanting to come together with other people, but just being so afraid of how different and how far removed we've become. And furthermore, I was using this same technology that you saw with those transforming digits to create representations of faces. And so I'm just going to play part of it. Can you bring up the video? Unfortunately. Stop it. So I'm just gonna go real quick. So yeah, it's a song that I wrote that is about that, and I was unable to get the vocal and time on this, but it's using this technology that is interpolating between faces. It's the same technology that would represent different disparate beliefs that would be used to guide collective decision making. Basically, you would have lots of people in real time just sharing their opinion of the state of things, like we already do, but having a way to reward the voices that are ahead of the curve. The voices who are saying this is going to be a problem, and especially when everybody else says no, that if it does come to pass, that somehow we reward those voices. And it's basically just using this technology to have a very rich representation, not just saying, like democracy, where you don't get to choose your vote. You get options, and then you have to choose between them. I want a system where you can just say, this is what's going to happen, or this is what's wrong, or this is exactly. Everybody has an opinion. There should be a way to test and reward the voices and the actions that are taken to achieve those things, because so much of our society is built on these promises of what somebody can do. Just politicians all the time making promises about the future and it never coming to pass. So if there's a way to capture our words and learn the voices that are most contributing to a positive, better future, I think we could radically transform society. And all the tools are there. And the only thing left is to just get people's attention in the right direction. And I am so heartened by this program, the LC, and why I'm so like reinvigorated with hope is because like I felt like for so long there was nobody out there who was thinking the same way. And for some reason, the social technology was not connecting me to the right people. It wasn't connecting me to all these brilliant minds who are very much like-minded. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people talk and be like, what the hell? That's literally like exactly what I was saying 4 years ago. It's so beautiful to have this spontaneous co-creation of ideas and just know that it's all emergent and that there is hope, because all of these ideas are coming to all these different people because we're all exposed to the same information. So there is so much hope and possibility to move towards this future. And I hope that when people hear me talking right now, they can just appreciate I've walked this path so far, and I've accrued so much knowledge along the way, and I have tried to compact it as tight as I can for you, and as entertaining as possible as I can for you, including this upcoming single. And I just hope you can take a moment to just read further in the preamble the possibility of what I'm suggesting, or take the 10 minutes to watch how this technology would work towards your benefit, because I can guarantee you that those in power will instead use this power to make your life worse. I mean, we see social credit systems in China. There are already papers about people creating it in the United States. I'm literally begging people to learn this technology and use it to create a better world before it makes a worse one. And I keep seeing machine learning be used for such terrible, awful things. And as somebody who creates these tools and just seeing this beautiful potential, this beautiful future, this incredibly bright future, and just not seeing it be manifested, seeing just like people do, my fellow people, like machine learning engineers creating weapons, I just think, what is wrong with you? And I understand it is the capital system of reward. And so when I have this manifesto that says, please, dear God, think about the incentive. I know it's abstract, but think about how we reward people and reinvent that. If you do that, everything else will follow. I am begging you to consider that notion, and I promise you there is a beautiful future on the other side of it, but you just have to take the moment to just open your mind's eye to something that is different, because it could be brighter and better. I love you. Thank you for the time, and thank you for listening. Whew. I don't even know if I'm still going.
Let me come back there with you. Hi, do you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry if I went long. I have no perception of time right now.
Whew. Don't worry. That was powerful. I missed the part in which you actually go and sing it.
I did. I just didn't have time. I was just trying to bring it all together, but I just hope that people will reach out to those links. And if you just go to like YouTube and subscribe, you're going to hear the single, or like just connect with me in some way. Send me an email, anything. I will connect you to the music and more of the vision.
Can we just let you sing it? Can you just sing it? Is that okay?
I just don't want to take anybody else's time.
You're the one.
You have all the time. Don't worry.
Okay. Is there a way to play the video but muted. Yes. Can you play the video from the beginning? You guys can't see that, right? Or hear it, because if you hear it, it'll be out of sync. This way you can read the lyrics. So just play. Oh, wait. Start over. Start over, please. Okay, go. It'll be out of sync, but whatever. I don't wanna be another other. Just another tribe that makes you feel afraid. I just wanna bind our brains. I feel already cold and chemical. Time to melt the minds and make us see the same. Hey, 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 you feel it in your brain. It's coming from inside. You wanna feel the feeling and the feelings feel them right. It's the other side. There's no way that you're right. I know because I know you'll never change your mind. I wanna be your brother, but I fear and I fear what you say. Where do we run for cover where the bombs come from the space in a brain? I can say a lie and miss another. Tell me that you're right and I don't feel the same. You walk away, look into your eyes. I see another mind, another kind. Maybe if we both just calm down, it'll change. Hey, 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 I wanna take your mind and lay it over mine and see the things you see and see the wisdom in your eyes. I know we're not the same. Maybe if we change and move a little closer, maybe we could find a way. I wanna come together, but I fear and I fear what you say. Where do you run for cover when the bombs come from the space in the brain? Hey you, what's your name? All you wanna do is sing the same refrain. Hey, I won't change. Nothing that you say is gonna shake my faith. Hey, what's your name? All you wanna do is sing the same refrain. Hey, I won't change. Nothing that you say is gonna shake my faith. I wanna be your brother, but I fear and I fear what you say. Where do you run for cover when the bombs come from the space in the brain?
We love you.
Love you.
Thank you. Hello.
We have a couple questions from people who posted, if you're open. Alejandra Diaz asked, which protocols would you consider or suggest to reprogram this abuse of social media apps?
Okay. Within the manifesto, I define a protocol for how we share our perceptions of what is and what isn't. That protocol is in a way like HTTP protocol. It's a standardization that allows for the internet to exist in the first place. The reason why I suggest a protocol is because I don't believe in a centralized arbiter of truth. What I mean is that there needs to be ways for all sorts of institutions to, in a common way, share what they think is true and good, what their visions of the future and their perspectives of the past in a way that it's like nobody controls the process. And so what that protocol for me came down to be very simply as is a length of how long a thought about what the truth is. That's just a number of characters. That it's data limitation. It helps for how you're going to store the data in the system. That's 256 characters. On Twitter, they have, I think that's the same on Twitter. It's the types of truths that you're sharing. Either just statements about like what is. It could just be a belief that the sky is blue, or it could be more esoteric like cheese is good, or it could just be any sort of belief in the present. Reflections, which is somebody's perspective of the past, because we're always reinventing and retelling our history, and it's imperative that we understand how our perspective of history changes over time, and keeping that record of that is very useful. And also connecting to the last bit is predictions, which is the most powerful part of a system I think that we need to build out, is that we reward the voices who share these visions of the future that come to pass. Like a good example would be like the Keystone Pipeline. Those communities that are actually impacted by having that come through their land, they understand very clearly the future that there is going to be an oil spill. It's going to get into their water supply, and it's going to be a problem. And all of these oil companies have this vicious insistence that it won't, and then of course it happens exactly as they said. Those voices were the predictive voices, and as soon as something happens, power should be reallocated and towards those people. But as it stands, the pipe is still there, everything's still, the power dynamic still sits the same, and now they just have to deal with that. And so that it's those four things, the types of truths that I think need to be shared. And then also a voting system, because all of these different applications have different voting systems, usually hearts, likes, stuff like that, upvotes, downvotes, and that's very abstract. I think that needs to be standardized so that we're on a common conception of what we're sharing to be our perceived perception about something. And so the two voting systems that I view as being necessary are, one, whether something is good or bad, and how good we think something is or how bad something is. Because we might think that a future is going to happen and it's a good thing, or the future isn't, or is going to happen and it's a bad thing, and sort of the other way around. And so the other system is just truth and goodness. Now, literally just yesterday, Jack from Twitter proposed this. So this is the first time I'm seeing other people see standardized protocols for social media. And I think if you dig a little deeper, and I have seen, there are very simple protocols for how would you exchange photos and posts between an application so you can truly own your data. That's important too. And I could probably collect some examples of those type of protocols, but the protocols that I think that we need established are how we share our perceptions of truth, and how that has an impact on the future and the actual outcomes online.
You're muted.
I was going to say, I wonder, Nico, if we should have a little more of a living systems integration question. What do you think?
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question.
All right, you do
it. We've been exploring a little bit of what living systems are, and I'd be very curious to hear your definition. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be very different from the ones that we've been proposing and jamming around. And within that, I'd love also to hear how you live it. Like, how does it
Yes.
affect you
Yes,
at
yes,
a
yes.
like an inner level?
So I think this comes back to this idea of like a convergent evolution of memes or ideas that like so much now that I come and I learned other people's talking about things in language that I was completely unfamiliar to me, but then it starts to feel extremely similar to me. And so when I came into this program, you know, I started hearing these ideas and like that just feels like my brain. That just feels how I think about things because I've always thought in a very structural and systems level way, trying to see the way the parts interact, all the way going back to like 8 or 9 is probably the first time that I could do it, and I just had this very rigid conceptions of, like, for example, when I was writing essays as a child, the idea of structure and how the structure of it conveyed that information to a person individually. And of course, I was so much more closed in and socially cut off. So it's like my entire perception of the world was very insular and one-minded. So it was structural. But as I started developing relationships, I started to have to model humans and people and their dynamics because I'm on the spectrum, you know, like autism spectrum disorder. It can be very difficult for me to understand how people interrelate to each other or why they do things. Like a lot of things people do just are not really intuitive to me. And they'll say like, "Oh, I did this because this reason," or "I have this facial expression because this reason." I'm like, but wait, all of these other reasons could be the reason for that. How can I possibly know it's that specific one? And I found just other people just naturally knew. So I had to think about like life in terms of systems and it was like I saw the world from an outsider. I saw like a network, a graph, and I was this node on the outside. So I only ever felt like I was seeing from the system from the outside, and I was this isolated node. And so like I went to college and I studied psychology because I wanted to understand how people communicated. And then I studied programming and I started studying machine learning because I wanted to learn how systems learned. And you know, once I got into machine learning, it's like everything is systems because you're designing these graphs of nodes that change as you flow data through them in a way that achieves a particular goal. And all of that came in the form of, you know, the manifesto, which is me living most truthfully, I think, how much the idea of systems thinking is to me, because I'm saying my entire purpose for being and my manifesto, the thing I need to bring to the world, is the very importance of the interactive effects and how the incentives shape the system. Just trying to beg to people to scream, like, if you're just saying, oh, maybe I'll donate to something, or maybe I'll make a nonprofit within this context, maybe I will do something, I say that will have a limited effect. It kind of will stop the bleeding, but it will not change fundamentally. You have to fundamentally think about how are these parts interacting, and when it comes down to it, it's like what unites all of us. It's money, and the weird truth that we all accept that a weird piece of cotton that's dyed green with a picture of a slave owner on it, it has value. That is so weird, but we just do it. And so I had this manifesto out saying like, okay, look, zoom out. You're in the system. You are in the system. We can shift that system and use that to shape our behavior in a much better way, so that the things that you wish you were rewarded for, you very likely would be rewarded for, because they are beneficial to other people instead of being beneficial just to the profit incentive. So coming into the system, for me, it was just a feeling of translation. You know, it's like learning a new language, where it's like, oh, these are the new words. These are how other people are saying these similar concepts and engaging. And it's just like you said, I define this as so much in different language. But it's something that just drives my very life and soul, and it's how I have to perceive things. And I wish I could go to the other lens, because I think being able to switch lenses is actually really useful. So I think maybe I need I think what is I need like a course on linear thinking, backwards, just like okay, this is how it normally goes, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
How was what about Mansoor, the person who generously was the patron of the Living Systems Collaboratory? What did you find interesting about his ideas most recently and their parallels with some of your work for profit?
Well, Mansoor and I just sort of vibe very, very easily, very, very naturally, because our ideas are so congruous, and I've had like 2 one-on-one conversations with him, where we just sort of went through like our conceptions of the world, just at like the systems level and at like the reward level, and I'm pretty much in awe of that dude, and very gracious for this program and his funding to it, because I really did want to do a single for a long time before this. And even though it wasn't that much money, because I still needed to provide for myself, and this gets down to what I say in the manifesto about how money shapes our behaviors against our own will. But I never felt like I could record the single. But then because of this program, because that money was mentally designated for this, I felt the full freedom and autonomy to pursue what I thought was what needed to be done, which is creating art that inspires others to think about systems change. So, I mean, it's like he's like the elder generation who's just like, I have seen, my generation has gone through this, and I have learned these lessons. Let me pass them on to you. Let me pass my wisdom on to you. And it's very exciting.
It's so good to hear about just how much this program has facilitated your resurgence of your passion, has given you the resource to focus, and it's been just such a delight to see you creating so feverishly towards that which will be of great service to this transition that we're going through. So I love you, and I am conveniently your girlfriend, and still I would say the same thing, because I so respect you as an artist, and it's been incredible to see you rocking it. And thank you for sharing with so much passion and care. I cried when you shared. So I think this is like a perfect wrap,
Yeah.
little bow, the system that we're in. And it's only the beginning. Can you say, Nico?
Thank you so much. It's amazing to have you around and learn from you. And with that, thank you so much for being with us in all these spotlights of the Living Systems Collaboratory, a side program of the Design Science Studio in collaboration with UC Irvine. Thank you to everybody that made this possible. Mansoor, John, Lisa, Ivan, Dimitri, and all the collaborations, as we call the students. And we'll see you here tomorrow. We have more talented people coming and sharing. And if you want a place to be right now or to go, you can come to our live stream. We'll post a link before closing the stream to come to the live stream to the planetary session of Regenerate Rising, this festival that is going on until tomorrow to celebrate the Regenescence and the acknowledgement of the living systems that we are in.
And doubly just thanking John Crawford, who was the one who really connected us to Mansoor and made it possible for us, one of our dreams in the Design Science Studio, which was to give recurring funding to a body of creators. By connecting us to Mansoor, that became possible. So, yeah. Vocalize your dreams, and they will become reality. Hope to see you inside Regenerate Rising, and thank you.
I just posted the link. Thank you so much.
That's actually not the link. We're going to be in the vision train. Yeah. Updated link.
We'll repost the link.
There it is.
Well, thank you, everybody. We'll see you there.